The grand chamber of the Galactic Assembly was filled with noise and flashing lights. Alien diplomats, warriors, scientists, and leaders from over 100 different species were gathered. The room itself was huge, a floating platform in space, surrounded by stars and moons. It was the heart of galactic politics, power, and pride. Today, there was one special reason for the crowd. Earth, the newest and least known member of the Galactic Assembly, was attending its first official trial of strength. Every new planet had to prove its value to the Assembly, not just with trade or technology, but with something more respected among the older civilizations: power. The Varnic Empire, a proud warrior race known for their brutal strength, had issued the challenge. They stood in the center of the ring, tall, armored beings with glowing eyes and spiked limbs. Their leader, Commander Racker, stepped forward and pointed a clawed hand at the Earth delegation. "Where is it?" he shouted, his voice booming across the chamber. "Where's Earth's deadliest beast? Your strongest weapon? Your monster?" The audience laughed. Many aliens believed Earth was weak, small, fragile, and slow to grow. They thought humans were soft and emotional. Tomas, Earth's ambassador, stood calmly. He was an older man with silver hair and a serious face. He wore a plain black suit, no armor, no medals. He looked at Commander Racker and replied, "She's on her way." This made some in the crowd chuckle. A few looked confused. "She?" Racker repeated. Amused, "You sent a female to fight. This must be a joke." Tomas didn't react. He simply turned his head as a door behind him opened. Footsteps echoed. A single figure walked into the chamber. Not large, not glowing, not armored. She was simple, a woman in her early 30s, wearing a black training suit. Her hair was cut short. Her eyes were dark and quiet. No weapons, no gear. Just a calm face and a confident walk. The moment she stepped onto the arena floor, the noise in the chamber faded. Her name was Mira. She didn't speak. She just stopped in the center of the ring and looked up at the tall Varnic warriors. Then she did one simple thing. She lifted her hands and cracked her knuckles. The sound echoed like thunder. "Commander." Racker growled. "Is this your joke, Tomas? A little human girl." Tomas gave a slight smile. "You asked for Earth's deadliest beast." She volunteered. The council judge, a multi-eyed being from the Lorth Council, raised his long fingers. "The challenge is accepted. Combat begins now." A huge Varnic warrior stepped forward. His name was Draylen, one of the best fighters in their empire. His arms were as thick as tree trunks. His skin was covered in metallic scales. Draylen laughed. "Don't blink, little one. This will end fast." Mira said nothing. The moment the judge lowered his hand, Draylen rushed at her with a roar. His foot slammed into the floor like a hammer, his claws reaching to crush her. The audience leaned forward, expecting the human to fly across the ring. But Mira moved. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She simply slid to the side, fast, clean, smooth, and twisted her body just enough to dodge the blow. Then, as Draylen turned, Mira stepped in and hit him once, just once. Her fist landed right in the center of his chest. There was a loud cracking sound, not her bones, his. Draylen's eyes went wide. He stumbled backward, gasping for air. His claws scratched at his chest, as if trying to hold himself together. Then he fell, hard. The entire chamber was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. Draylen was unconscious. One punch. The judge blinked all 10 of his eyes. "The match is complete. Earth wins." The silence broke into chaos. Some aliens shouted in confusion. Others gasped. Some stood up to see better. The Varnic delegation looked furious. Commander Racker stepped into the ring. "That was luck. That was a trick." Tomas crossed his arms. "Then try again." Two more Varnic warriors stepped forward. Bigger, stronger, angry. Mira turned her head slightly toward the judge. "Let them come," she said. Her voice was calm, almost bored. The judge looked at the crowd. "The Earth representative has requested a double match. Do the challengers accept?" The two Varnic warriors nodded and roared. The match began again. This time, Mira didn't wait. She moved first, fast like lightning. Her fists danced, her legs kicked with perfect aim. She didn't shout, didn't growl, didn't show anger. She just moved, like a storm in human form. Within 20 seconds, both warriors were on the ground, one groaning, the other knocked out cold. Now the silence wasn't shock. It was fear. Aliens from all over the assembly looked at the small human woman standing alone in the ring, breathing quietly, arms at her sides. This was no weapon, no cyborg, no machine, just a person. Tomas stepped forward. This is Earth's message. We may look small, we may act soft, but when the time comes, he looked at Mira, who cracked her knuckles again. We hit back. The Galactic Assembly Chamber was still in shock. No one had expected a human to win, and especially not like that. Mira didn't just defeat one Varnic warrior, she defeated 3. And she didn't use weapons, armor, or tricks, only her fists, her movement, and her calm mind. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. Videos of her fights were shown on hundreds of alien news screens. Earth's beast, they called her. But Mira didn't roar, didn't show teeth, and didn't smile. She wasn't angry or wild. She was focused. Back in the resting room, Mira sat on a steel bench, drinking water. Her face was clean, her breathing steady. She had a small scratch on her arm, but she didn't seem to care. Ambassador Tomas walked in with a tablet in his hand. His expression was calm, but his eyes showed pride. You've made quite the entrance, he said. Mira looked up. Did I pass? Tomas chuckled. You did more than pass. Now they want more. She raised an eyebrow. More? The assembly is curious. They think maybe the Varnic were unprepared, or maybe you were lucky. He handed her the tablet. The Techno Dominion has issued a second challenge. Mira scanned the screen. A picture of her next opponent appeared. A machine. Not a living being. Biomech, she asked. Yes, it's not just metal. It's a living machine. Grown and built. Fast, strong, and smart. The Dominion says if you beat it, Earth will earn the full respect of the Assembly. Mira stood up. She rolled her shoulders slowly. When? She asked. In 2 hours. She nodded. I'll be ready. 2 hours later, main aeronade chamber was even more crowded than before. Word had spread fast. Now everyone wanted to see the human who defeated 3 Varnic warriors. The arena floor had been changed. Instead of stone, it was now metal, to handle the weight of the new fighter. When Mira stepped into the ring, many aliens leaned forward. They looked for fear in her eyes. There was none. The floor shook. A large gate opened. From the shadows, the challenger entered. It was huge, 12 feet tall, made of black and silver plating. Long arms, heavy legs, and glowing red eyes. Its voice was deep and cold. Target, human. Threat level, unknown. Ready for combat. Mira stared at it. She studied its movement, the weight in its step, and the small clicks in its joints. The judge raised his arm. Begin. The mech moved fast, faster than any of the Varnic warriors. Its legs fired jets of air as it charged, its arms swinging like hammers. Mira jumped aside. The ground cracked where she had stood a second ago. The mech turned quickly and struck again. Mira dodged, but not fast enough. A heavy blow grazed her side, knocking her back. She rolled, stood up, and breathed out slowly. The audience gasped. Mira was bleeding. A dark red line on her side. But she didn't stop. She didn't step back. She moved forward again. The mech struck again, this time a low sweep with its leg. Mira leapt above it, twisting in the air, and kicked the side of its head. The mech stumbled but didn't fall. Adjusting strategy, it said coldly. It raised its arm. A shock pulse fired out, blasting Mira off her feet. She hit the ground hard. The audience leaned in, some expecting her to stay down. But Mira sat up, coughing once, and stood again. She wiped blood from her lip. Her eyes narrowed. She began to run. Straight at the mech. The crowd shouted. What was she doing? The mech fired again. But she dodged. Sliding under the beam, she jumped, landed on its arm, then its shoulder. She moved fast, climbing like a cat, searching for something. Then she found it, a small round joint behind the neck. With one sharp strike, she smashed into it. The mech shuddered. Its arms flailed. She struck again. The third strike broke the joint open. Sparks flew. Mira reached inside and tore out a glowing piece of metal. The mech made one final noise, system failing. Then it collapsed. The metal floor rang loud as the huge machine crashed. Mira jumped off, landing on her feet. She stood still, breathing hard. The arena was silent again. Then, slowly, the applause began. One by one, aliens stood and clapped. Some whistled. Some pounded their fists in respect. Even the judge stood. The winner, Earth's champion. Mira turned and walked off the field, one hand over her bleeding side. She didn't smile. She didn't raise her hands. But when she passed Tomas at the gate, he gave her a nod. "Well done," he said. She nodded back. It was strong. Tomas looked at the destroyed mech. "You were stronger." Later that night, council chambers in a private chamber above the arena, a small group of alien leaders gathered. Among them was Princess Riva of Corin, a young but wise diplomat known for her fairness. She had watched the match closely. "She is different," Riva said softly. "Dangerous," said a lyric general. "No," Riva replied. "Precise, controlled. She doesn't fight with rage. She fights with understanding." The others nodded slowly. Riva looked out the window toward Earth's ship floating in orbit. "I want to meet her." Meanwhile, Mira's quarters. Mira sat alone in a quiet room, wrapping her side with a bandage. She looked at her reflection. In the mirror, her face was calm, but in her eyes, there was something deeper. Not pride. Not anger. Purpose. She stood up and walked to the window. Stars filled the sky, and she whispered to herself, "They've seen nothing yet." She cracked her knuckles one more time. The fight was far from over. The galaxy now knew her name, Mira. After defeating the Varnuk warriors and destroying the biomech from the Techner Dominion, Mira became the center of attention in the Galactic Assembly. Every news stream showed her face. Every planet was talking about her. They called her the Calm Storm or the Beast of Earth. But none really knew who she was or where she came from. But Mira didn't care about fame. She didn't read the news. She didn't want medals or titles. She only cared about one thing, her mission. Years earlier, Earth. Underground facility Thornlong. Before she stepped into the assembly arena, Mira was just another soldier. She joined the Terran Defense Force when she was 18, like many others who wanted to protect Earth. But she didn't join for glory. She joined because she believed in survival. And she believed Earth would one day face something bigger than itself. And she was right. Earth's first contact with aliens wasn't peaceful. The first visitors were raiders, pirates with plasma, rifles and fast ships. They thought Earth was weak. They were wrong, but Earth took damage. People died. Cities were burned. After that, the governments of Earth agreed on one secret plan. Project Thorn. It was created to prepare warriors who could fight without tech, without armor, who could rely only on their body, instincts, and unbreakable spirit. Only 20 were accepted into the first group. Mira was one of them. The training was brutal. Every day was a battle, not against enemies, but against fear, pain, and exhaustion. They trained in zero gravity, under pressure, in burning heat and freezing cold. They fought underwater. They fought blindfolded. They learned to read body language, feel vibrations, and hear movement like animals. Most gave up. Some were broken. Only 3 finished. Mira was the best. Her instructors called her unshakable. She never complained, never shouted. She took the pain, learned from it, and came back stronger every time. By the time she was 25, she could break steel bars with her legs, crush bone with her hands, and outsmart AI drones with just her timing. But she wasn't a machine. She still laughed sometimes. She loved black coffee, reading history books, and walking in the rain. She was human, just sharpened like a blade. Present Galactic Assembly Space Station. Mira stood on the edge of a glass balcony, looking out at the stars. Below, thousands of ships floated in orbit. different sizes, shapes, and colors from across the galaxy. Her side still hurt from the mech battle, but she didn't show it. A soft chime rang behind her. The door opened. Tomas stepped in, holding a small data pad. New invitations, he said, for alien leaders want to meet you. And one of them is very high rank, Princess Riva of Corin. Mira turned slightly. Why? She said she respects power that's quiet. Mira gave a small smile. That's rare. Tomas looked at her. For a moment, you're making a lot of noise without saying much. Some admire it. Some are afraid. I'm not here to scare anyone, she said. I know. But the galaxy doesn't understand humans yet. She stepped away from the window. Then let's teach them later. A private garden in the Corin Ambassador Princess Riva waited. By a glowing tree. The garden was peaceful, filled with soft light and floating petals. Riva wore a white robe and had silver markings on her skin. She wasn't a fighter. She was a diplomat, trained in words, not war. When Mira arrived, too, guards tried to stop her at the gate. Riva raised a hand. Let her pass. Mira walked in silently. Riva smiled and bowed her head. Thank you for coming. Mira nodded once. They sat at a round stone table. Riva spoke first. You surprised many today, Mira replied. That wasn't my goal. I know, Riva said gently. That's why it worked. For a moment, there was silence between them. Then Riva asked, Why do you fight? Mira looked up. To protect what matters. Riva tilted her head. What matters to you? Mira paused. It was a hard question. No one had asked her that before. Finally, she answered, freedom, peace, a world where no one has to become what I became. Riva nodded slowly. You're a weapon, but you carry a soul. I'm not proud of everything I've done, Mira admitted, but I'd do it again to keep Earth safe. Riva smiled. Then you are not a beast, you are a guardian. Meanwhile, Varnic War Chamber Commander Racker paced angrily. Mira's victory had made him a joke. The other Varnic warriors avoided his gaze. Even his own soldiers questioned him. This isn't over, Racker growled. A shadow stepped forward from the corner of the room. It was a spy, thin, covered in stealth armor. I can reach her, the spy said. She won't see me. No one will. Racker's eyes narrowed. No more battles, no more rules. Finish her in the dark. The spy nodded. That night, Mira's quarters. Mira sat in silence. She was meditating, eyes closed, breathing slow. Then she felt it, a sound, a movement in the air. She opened her eyes. Just as a blade flashed, she rolled back, kicked the attacker in the chest. The spy crashed into a wall, but landed on his feet. They fought in the shadows, fast, silent, deadly. But Mira had trained for this. She blocked, struck, flipped, and grabbed. Within seconds, the spy was on the floor, unconscious. She stood over him, breathing calmly. Then she looked toward the window. She knew who had sent him, and she knew what was coming next. The Galactic Assembly had seen strength before. It had seen fleets wipe out moons, armies level cities, and machines destroy planets. But the kind of strength they saw in Mira, simple, silent, and human, was something new. And dangerous. After the spy attack in her quarters, Mira had made a decision. She would not wait for the next attack. Assembly Council Hall. Next morning, the assembly met under the Great Dome again. Leaders from every system sat in their floating seats. High above the circular arena, the chamber was filled with soft noise, whispers, questions, and tension. Earth's ambassador, Tomas, stood at the speaking podium. Mira stood beside him, quiet, with her hands behind her back. Her side was still bandaged from the mech fight, but her face showed no pain. Tomas spoke clearly. Last night, an assassin entered our quarters. He was armed, trained, and sent to kill Earth's champion. We have identified him as a Varnic. Agent, gasps echoed across the chamber. Commander Racker of the Varnic Empire stood up from his seat. Lies, you have no proof. Tomas tapped a button on his tablet. A projection lit up. A clear image of the spy's body and weapons, Varnic. Symbols still fresh on his armor. More gasps. The judge, a tall being from the Telari species, leaned forward. Do you demand a response? Tomas looked at Mira. She nodded once. Yes, Tomas said. Earth requests another match. This time, not a warrior, not a soldier. A test. One more trial. The judge turned to Racker. Do the Varnik accept? Racker sneered. We accept. Later. Training renowned like the main combat ring. The training arena was meant for experiments. It had moving floors, rising walls, changing weather systems, and heavy resistance settings. It was used to test elite machines, new weapons, and survival gear. Mira stood at the edge of the metal field, waiting. The walls shifted. Lights dimmed. The next challenge was being prepared. Tomas stood beside her, speaking quietly. This isn't just a fight. This is a message. I know, she replied. Are you ready? Mira cracked her neck. Always. A gate opened with a loud hiss. From inside rolled out a massive figure, a tall mech. Different from the first. This one was twice as large, covered in armor plates. It had 6 limbs, each one ending in a blade, hammer, or energy cannon. Its body glowed with blue plasma. The announcer's voice echoed across the arena, introducing the Varnik Juggernaut, War-Class Titan. The audience roared with interest. Even those who hated Earth were excited now. No human could win against that. The mech's voice was low and sharp. Target, human. Destruction mode, engaged. Mira didn't move. The floor shifted. Pillars rose. The lights turned red. The test had begun. First round. The hunt begins. The mech charged first. Its heavy legs pounded the floor, breaking tiles under its weight. Plasma beams shot forward, turning walls into molten metal. Mira ran. She moved fast and low, using the broken pillars for cover. She didn't attack. Not yet. She was learning, watching, listening. The mech swung its bladed arm, slicing through to metal columns like paper. Mira rolled to the side, jumped onto a wall, and kicked off into the air. She landed behind the mech and punched a vent on its back. Sparks flew, but no real damage. She landed on her feet and narrowed her eyes. Too thick, she whispered. Second round, power and precision. Floor changed, spikes shot up. The ceiling dropped slightly, and the walls narrowed. The mech adapted, switching its legs to a wheeled form and spinning toward her like a saw. Mira ran toward it, then jumped onto its wheel arm and kicked off. While in the air, she threw a small tool, a smoke sphere. The arena filled with white fog. The audience held its breath. Nothing was visible. Then, a loud sound of impact. The fog cleared slowly. The mech had a dent in its side. A large dent, one of its arms hanging loose, and Mira stood behind it, breathing hard, her knuckles bruised. Now the crowd wasn't just excited. They were afraid. Third round, final test. Floor became a pit. Only narrow beams remained. Below was energy fire. Anything that fell would be destroyed. The mech launched a drone from its back. It flew round Mira, scanning and firing small beams. Mira leapt from beam to beam, dodging both the drone and the mech's cannon. Then she slipped. For a moment, everyone thought she would fall. But Mira caught the edge with one hand, swung her body up, and launched herself toward the mech's chest. She found a weak point, a maintenance hatch. With one final punch, she broke through it and tore out a glowing core. The mech screamed, an unnatural sound, and collapsed. The beams retracted. The pit closed. Mira stood alone on the empty metal floor. Council chamber, after Mathmeyer's victory, was not just a win for Earth. It was a message. She had faced a Varnik Titan on a changing battlefield, and one without a weapon. Tomas stood again in front of the council. We are not your pets. We are not your prey. Earth will not kneel. The judge raised his hand. The vote is complete. Earth is granted full status in the Galactic Assembly, and the Varnik Empire has issued a warning. Commander Racker's face was red with rage, but he said nothing. He knew what would happen if he pushed further. Mira turned to leave the chamber, but a voice called out. Wait, it was Princess Riva. She walked forward, standing before Mira. You are more than a warrior, she said softly. You are a reminder of what power looks like when guided by control. Mira looked at her. For the first time in days, Mira gave a small smile. Thank you, she said. Later that night, Mira's quarters alone once again. Mira looked at her hands. They were bruised, sore, and tired, but they were still strong. She sat down, looked out at the stars, and whispered, "We're not done yet." Then she cracked her knuckles. The galaxy was watching. The stars outside the galactic assembly shimmered quietly, but inside the station, things were louder than ever. Whispers traveled from planet to planet, system to system. Mira of Earth had become a name that every leader knew, every soldier feared, and every citizen wanted to understand. But while many saw her as a weapon, one person saw something else. Inside the Corran Embassy was built like a floating garden. Water flowed through glass pipes, and the walls glowed with soft light. In a quiet room at the top of the tower, Princess Riva of Corran stood in front of a large screen, watching a replay of Mira's latest fight against the Varnic Titan. She watched closely, not the punches, not the speed, but the eyes. There was power, yes, but also something more. Calm, purpose, discipline. Riva turned to her assistant. "Send a message to Earth's delegation. I wish to speak with her, alone." Meanwhile, Earth's quarters. Mira sat with her back against the wall, her arms crossed. She had been quiet all day. The bruises on her body were healing. But there was something heavier weighing on her, a thought that wouldn't go away. Tomas entered the room. "You've been requested." "Another fight?" she asked, without opening her eyes. "No, a conversation. With someone who seems different." Mira opened her eyes. "Who?" "Princess Riva of Corran." Mira blinked once. She had noticed Riva before, in the crowd, during speeches. After the last battle, always watching, always calm. Mira stood up. "I'll go. Later." Corn garden balcony. Air smelled of flowers and fresh water. Soft music played in the background. Riva stood alone at the edge of a glowing pond. Mira walked up behind her, dressed in her usual black training uniform. "I didn't think you would come," Riva said, not turning around. "I don't waste time," Mira replied. Riva smiled slightly. "Good, then let's not waste it." She turned to face Mira, eyes bright with curiosity. "You're different from every warrior I've ever seen." "I'm not a warrior," Mira said. Riva tilted her head. "Then what are you?" Mira paused. Before answering, "A student, a protector, a survivor." Riva walked slowly around the pond. "Most people who fight like you carry hate, but you don't." "I've seen what hate does," Mira replied. "It burns the wrong things." Riva looked at her. "And what drives you, Mira of Earth?" Mira looked out at the stars. "My planet, my people. I don't want Earth to be feared. I want it to be safe." Riva was quiet for a moment, then said gently, "You're not just a fighter. You're a message." Mira turned her eyes toward her. "And what do you see in that message?" Riva's voice was soft. "Hope." Elsewhere, Varnic warship in orbit inside a large battlecruiser floating near the station. Commander Racker slammed his fist onto a control table. His pride had been shattered by Mira in front of the entire assembly. He had tried battle, sabotage, and even assassination. None had worked. "She's more dangerous than we thought," one of his captains said. "She's a symbol now," another added. Racker growled. "Then we don't just remove the symbol. We break what it protects." The lights in the room dimmed. A new figure entered the room, cloaked, face hidden. "What do you want?" Racker snapped. "I bring you a chance," the figure said. "One final plan, one that strikes her heart." Racker narrowed his eyes. "Go on." Back in the assembly station, the next day Myra woke early and went to the training room alone. She struck metal dummies, balanced on moving platforms, and ran through combat simulations. Every motion was clean and sharp, but her mind was distracted. Riva's words echoed inside her. "You're not just a fighter. You're a message." Was that really what she wanted? Was she still just a tool made by Project Thorn? Or had she become something more? Tomas entered the room, holding a small device. "You've been invited again," he said. Mira raised an eyebrow. "Another match?" "No." "A speech?" Mira froze. "I'm not good with speeches." Tomas smiled. "You're better than you think." Later, Health Council was gathered again. But this time it wasn't for combat. It was for recognition. Earth had passed every trial. The final vote had given them full rights in the assembly. Now, they wanted Earth's champion to speak. Mira stood on the central platform, facing the galaxy. She took a breath. I came here not to fight, she said, her voice strong but steady, but to show who we are. Earth is not full of monsters or beasts. We are survivors, learners. We build, we protect, we fight when we must, not to conquer, but to defend what we love. Some aliens nodded, others listened in silence. She continued, I don't want to be called a beast. I'm human, just like the billions who live on my planet. And if you respect strength, respect the strength of choice, the choice to stand for peace. The chamber clapped. Even a few former doubters stood to show respect. From her seat, Riva smiled quietly, but far above, in the shadow of the station, something dangerous was moving. Orbit, the silent cloaked ship had been hidden for days. Now it slowly moved into position. Inside, the figure who had spoken with Racker stood in front of a control panel. Target locked, he said, initiating Phase 1. A dark satellite detached from the ship and floated toward the assembly station. It was small, silent, and full of poison. Not for Mira's body, but for her name. Later that night, Mira's quarters. Mira looked at a message on her screen. A report had arrived. One of Earth's early contacts with alien raiders had included a secret retaliation, an unapproved mission that resulted in several alien deaths. A message followed. This is the truth of Earth, hidden behind fake peace. Will she speak for that? Mira closed her eyes. Someone was trying to turn her words into lies, trying to make her a symbol of something false. But she wasn't afraid. She stood, walked to the mirror, and looked into her own reflection. She whispered, let them come. She cracked her knuckles and waited for the storm. The Galactic Assembly was supposed to be a place of peace, but peace is fragile. After Mira's powerful speech, many worlds had shown respect. Her calm strength and simple words had left a mark. Earth was finally accepted, but just as the stars shine brightest before dawn, darkness was waiting. Inside the council room, a special session was called. Ambassadors filled the giant hall again, buzzing with tension. A large screen lit up in the center. A shaky video began to play. It showed a human squad landing on an alien moon, weapons drawn, voices loud. The video ended with a short battle, and 3 alien lives lost. A message appeared. This is Earth's truth. Behind the hero lies violence. Gasps filled the room. Ambassador Freya stood from Earth's table. This mission was never authorized. This was a rogue act, not the will of Earth. The Varnic ambassador stood up sharply. It doesn't matter. Earth's beast pretends to speak peace, but this is what they hide. Eyes turned toward Mira. She sat quietly, her hands folded. She didn't stand. She didn't raise her voice. She just said, let me prove who I am, later. The Garden of Trials Council had given Mira one final challenge. Not of strength, not of speed. But of truth. She was to walk through the Garden of Trials, a place where warriors are tested not by enemies, but by their own hearts. Only one rule existed inside. No lies, no masks, only truth. The doors opened. Mira stepped inside. The first trial, the past garden changed around her. It became a memory. She stood in the ruins of an old training hall. The broken floor, the fire marks on the walls. She knew this place. This was where she had failed her first mission. A younger version of herself appeared, scared and shaking, holding a training weapon. You let them die, the younger Mira whispered. You weren't strong enough. Mira stepped forward. I know. You ran. I learned, Mira said softly. And I never ran again. The scene faded. She had passed the first trial. The second trial, the mask knows she stood in front of a mirror, but the face looking back wasn't hers. It was the version of her that others saw, the beast of Earth, red eyes, cold expression, covered in battle scars. The mirror spoke. This is who they fear. This is who they believe you are. If they saw the real you, would they still follow? Mira looked straight at the reflection. I don't want followers, she said. I want understanding. I am not their fear. I am their lesson. The mirror cracked. Truth had broken the illusion. Outside, the world watches garden had no cameras. No one could see inside. But across the assembly station, aliens watched and waited. Some hoped for her to fail. Others prayed she wouldn't. Princess. Riva stood with her guards nearby. She's fighting her own soul, Riva whispered. Tomas stood beside her. She always has. The final trial, the choicest last room was silent, empty. Just a single pedestal with a glowing sphere. A voice echoed all around. You can leave with peace. Your name will be cleared. Earth will remain in the assembly. Or, you can reveal a secret buried deep, one that may break your world's trust. But it will be the truth. Mira walked to the sphere. She knew what it held. A memory, proof that Earth's leaders had once considered using her as a weapon to threaten smaller alien worlds before the assembly was formed. A secret plan, quickly shut down. But never. Erased. If she revealed it, Earth would face shame. If she stayed silent, she would live as a symbol, built on lies. She reached out and touched the sphere. Moments later, council room doors of the council chamber opened again. Mira stepped inside. She looked calm, but her eyes held fire. She raised a small device. This is the truth, she said. She pressed a button. The room fell silent as the recording played. Earth generals talking in secret, long ago, about using Project Thorn to scare nearby alien colonies. No action had been taken, but the words were clear. When the recording ended, no one spoke. Freya stood up, stunned. Mira, you didn't have to. I did, Mira said. If peace is built on lies, it will fall. Let it stand on truth. The Varnic ambassador rose. So, your world is guilty. Mira nodded. Yes, but guilt does not define a people. Change does. The room remained tense until Riva stood. In all my years, she said clearly, I have never seen someone speak such truth, knowing the cost. If Earth is even one like her, then it deserves its place here. Other voices followed. The assembly voted again. Earth would remain, not because of strength, but because of one human's honesty. Later, the quiet Ramira sat alone in her quarters. She looked at the stars outside. Tired but calm. Tomas entered. They're calling you. Something new now. Mira looked at him. He smiled. Not beast, not soldier. They're calling you the mirror of Earth, because you reflect what's real, even if it's hard. Mira chuckled softly. I just told the truth. Sometimes, Tomas said. That's the hardest thing anyone can do. Meanwhile, the shadows moved far away, in a hidden station beyond the edge of the assembly's reach. Commander Racker watched the news in silence. She turned their anger into trust. His advisor growled. Racker crushed the edge of the screen. No, she delayed what's coming. He turned toward a new screen, showing rows of hidden ships. We're done with tricks. Prepare the fleet. Begin the countdown. The war was coming, but so was Earth's deadliest truth. And Mira would be ready. She cracked her knuckles and waited for the real fight to begin. The stars had grown quiet. To quiet. Ships moved through space like shadows. Whole sectors had stopped sending signals. Planets locked their borders. Trade stopped. The assembly was holding its breath. Something was coming, and Mira knew it wasn't just a rumor. On Earth's orbit, Council Ship Horizon. Mira stood in the war room, arms crossed. Behind her, maps of star systems blinked red one after another. Attacks were happening too fast. Too quietly. Tomas leaned over a console. They hit another outpost. No survivors. Mira's jaw tightened. Riva appeared on the screen. It's the Shadow Union, she said. They're not part of the assembly anymore. They've waited years for this. Then they picked the wrong year, Mira replied. Inside, the assembly leaders from all worlds gathered again. Some panicked. Some demanded retreat. Mira stood calmly in the center. They're not just testing our borders, she said. They're testing our fear. If we run, they win. The Varnic ambassador asked coldly. And what would Earth's beasts have us do? Mira stepped forward. We don't run. We defend every world, together. I will lead the strike team. Put me where it hurts them most. A silence followed. Then Reva stood. Give her the command, if we fall. I'd rather fall beside someone who stands for truth. One by one, others nodded. The mission, strike at Black Nebula Bossamira, led a mixed squad. Humans, Varnock scouts, Zalari snipers, and a robotic engineer from the mineral planet Kaldis. Their target, the Shadow Union's hidden command base inside a collapsed star field. Called the Black Nebula. No map existed. No rescue was guaranteed. They call it a one-way trip. Mira just smiled. Then we won't take the way back. We'll make a new one. Entering the Black Nebula, flying into the nebula felt like falling into smoke. Legs twisted, gravity shifted. But Mira stood tall on the ship's bridge. The young Zalari sniper, Kenra, watched her. You're not afraid, are you? I've faced worse than darkness, Mira replied. I've faced silence. I've faced myself. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Dozens of Shadow Union ships appeared. Like monsters crawling out of shadows. Mira's voice cut through the panic. Battle stations. They found us first. Good. Now they'll know who we are. The fight beggars missiles streaked across black space. Defense drones clashed with alien fighters. Mira jumped from the ship with two others, flying toward the enemy. Base using GR-AV-boots. As they landed on the base's outer wall, enemy guards rushed out. Mira didn't hesitate. She cracked her knuckles. And then she moved out fast, smooth, deadly. One enemy dropped, then another. Her body was like flowing steel. Every punch a message. Earth has arrived. The others followed behind her, inspired. They fought their way through the dark halls, room by room, step by step, inside the heart of the Basi. The Shadow Union commander, Racker, waited in the central control room. He was tall, armored in black metal, and surrounded by high-ranking soldiers. He watched Mira fight her way closer on the screens. She's just one human, he growled. Why are they afraid? His advisor stepped back. Because she doesn't fight for orders. She fights for belief. Racker smashed the console. No matter, she'll die here. Final confrontation. Racker versus Mira. Mira burst into the control room, bruised but standing strong. Behind her, the team held the line. Racker faced her, towering with robotic limbs and energy blades. You could have stayed safe on your little blue world, he said. Instead, you came here to die. Mira raised her fists. I didn't come to die. She replied, I came to show you, Earth isn't scared anymore. Then she charged. The fight shook the room. Sparks flew. Steel hit steel. Racker struck hard, but Mira dodged, twisted, and hit back harder. She was faster, smarter, and more determined. You think you're a beast? Racker shouted. No, Mira said, grabbing his arm and flipping him. I'm a protector. With one final punch, she drove him into the floor. The enemy commander was finished. Aftermath. The Galaxy Watch's Shadow Union base was destroyed. Mira's team escaped with survivors and critical data that helped the assembly push back the invasion. Across many sectors, across alien worlds, Mira's name was now spoken with respect, not fear. She wasn't called the Beast anymore. She was called the Shield of the Stars. On Earth, months later back home, Mira stood quietly at the edge of a cliff, looking out over a calm sea. Tomas approached, carrying a message. They want you to train new peacekeepers, he said. Across the galaxy, Mira smiled. I'll teach them more than fighting, she said. I'll teach them what makes a real defender. What's that? Tomas asked. She looked at the horizon. Someone who stands, even when standing is hard. Final words, a voice in the stars in the Galactic Museum, years later. A young alien girl stared at a statue. A tall woman standing with fists at her side. Head held high. The guide spoke. She was once called a beast, but she became a legend. Not because she fought the strongest enemies, but because she faced truth, fear, and darkness, and never gave up. And what was her name? The girl asked. The guide smiled. Mira. The girl who smiled walked in and cracked her knuckles.